were dedicated and queued for several hours to secure a vantage point outside the church of St. Mary Magdalene, were rewarded for their patience when Prince William walked past, holding the hand of his toddler son, Prince George, with his wife, who pushed their daughter, Princess Charlotte, in a pram. The same pram the Queen had used for two of her children. The wait was worth it for those who come here.
I just think it's so wonderful. They're two beautiful children. I might not see them for a little while, perhaps after this. And the Queen must be immensely proud of them.
Sandringham's a beautiful place. My sister lives locally in Norfolk, so I thought, yeah, I haven't done that on my bucket list. I thought I'd come and have a go.
You and Kate are just fantastic, and I just had to be. Yeah, I couldn't miss it.
The christening of a princess was a private, intimate affair inside the 16th century church on the Queen's Land, where William's mother Diana had also been baptised. The 22-strong congregation included 4 generations of royals, the family's nanny, and Charlotte's 5 godparents. She will receive spiritual guidance from 3 close friends of her parents, including Thomas Van Straubenzee, from her mother's cousin, Adam Middleton, and from her father's cousin, Laura Fellows, the daughter of one of his mother's sisters. This is the first time William, Kate, George and Charlotte have been seen together. Such sightings won't become commonplace. The Cambridges are keen to limit their children's public appearances as they grow up.
Peter Hunt reporting here. Let's return now to our main news. With more than 30% of votes counted, results from the Greek referendum suggest voters have rejected the terms of an international bailout. Well, BBC's John Humphreys has been facing Tahrir Square in the centre of Athens. John, how are people reacting?
Well, I just left this Tahrir Square because if I stayed in there, I wouldn't have been able to hear the words you're saying, and you probably wouldn't have been able to hear what I was saying. They are ecstatic, I think it's fair to say. I think a very large part of the country, most of the people here are ecstatic. I'm not hugely surprised by this because it happens because I have a family here and they were expecting this. The pundits were saying, oh, no, of course, common sense will prevail. But it depends which side of the argument you're on, whether common sense really is sensible or not. And if you're one of the poorer people in Athens, if you're one of those people who've lost their job, if you're one of those people pension is disappearing, and so on and so on and so on, then why the hell would you want more austerity than you've already got? So celebration in Athens tonight.
You have many connections with the country. How has this referendum affected Greeks, do you think? Has it profoundly divided them? As you said, many people feel differently about this.
Oh, Greece is a divided country tonight. We knew that that was the case, but we now have proof of it. It is divided between the haves, broadly speaking, this is a bit crude, but the haves and the have-nots. Professional parties, the people who've got loads of money, they could live perfectly well with austerity. But the people who've always been a bit close to the cliff edge, they could not. And they are the people who are celebrating tonight. The country is divided.
And how do people view Brussels now? Because they'll have to do business with them, whatever.
Well, I think the biggest question here, certainly in Tahrir Square and everyone else with the area where I am at the moment, is how they view Germany. They hate the Germans, an awful lot of people, because of what they did in the war, and more particularly because of the threatening tone that they adopted. They told me effectively, you've got to change your ways, and you've got to vote for our plan, otherwise you're in deep trouble. Well, I'm afraid that Greek people don't take time to see that, and that's why this vote today has happened the way it happened.
John Humphreys there in Athens. You've been listening to the newsroom here on the BBC World Service with me, Valerie Sanderson. Vote counting is underway in the Greek bailout referendum with early results. More than 30% now counted, suggesting people have said no to the terms recently offered by its international creditors. Much more on that story on our website at bbc.com/news. But that's it in the newsroom for now.
This is the BBC World Service, where this month's global beat comes from the legendary Glastonbury Festival. Here's Hugh Stevens.
This month's celebration of new music puts the finalists of the Glastonbury Festival Emerging Talent Competition under the spotlight.
It was a theatre competition. Every band was absolutely brilliant what they did. We were loud, energetic, great. Yes.
And this year, performed at the world famous music festival.
Glastonbury always been in the back of my head, and I thought, wow, if I could do anything like close to that, for me it's like a new experience. I'm just gonna get there and then just sing some Ghanaian music and go, hey!
I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more from them in the future, but make sure you hear them here first.
That's Global Beats with Hugh Stevens. Online at bbcworldservice.com/globalbeats.
In colonial times, Seymour Kimbondu said black people, not white Belgians, should be running this country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And for that, he was imprisoned for longer than Nelson Mandela. Today, 1 in 10 Congolese are Kimbongese, including my driver, Alphonse, that's him singing along in the background. I'm William Edmondson, and for Heart and Soul on the BBC World Service, I've been looking at how old and new churches have become so influential here. That's after the latest BBC News.
BBC News with David Austin. Partial results in the Greek referendum indicate a significant lead for the no vote, rejecting the terms for an international bailout recently offered by Greece's creditors. The Greek finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, will soon hold an emergency meeting with officials from the Bank of Greece. The Greek government has said it wants to begin talks with the international lenders immediately. The US Secretary of State, John Kerry, has said discussions on Iran's nuclear program, but a deal is not yet certain. At least 20 Islamic State militants in Syria are reported to have been killed by the US-led coalition during intensive airstrikes in the group's main stronghold, the city of Raqqa. 6 civilians, including a child, were also reported killed. Influential clerics in the Quetta region of Pakistan have said they'll join the campaign to persuade parents to get their children vaccinated against polio. Pakistan has struggled to eliminate the crippling disease, with some parents refusing the vaccine because they fear it's un-Islamic. The United Nations Cultural Agency has awarded World Heritage status to 23 sites in Japan, representing the country's industrial revolution. South Korea had objected to the site's nominations, saying they'd been used for wartime forced labor. Pressure is continuing to mount on the Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak after accusations that $700 million was transferred into his personal bank accounts. The American Space Agency's mission to Pluto has suffered a computer glitch just days before it's due to fly past the planet. The New Horizon probe set out on its 5 billion kilometre journey 9 years ago. And the youngest member of the British royal family, Princess Charlotte, has been imprisoned. The 9-week-old princess was carried in a vintage pram previously used by the Queen's children. And that's the latest BBC News.
I'm William Edmondson, and for Heart and Soul from the BBC World Service, I'm going to take you back to a quiet schedule in the last days of 2013. I was in London trying to decide what to put into Newsday, the programme I normally work for, and this story hit the urgent feed from the news agencies. It looked like a coup attempt. To anyone who's seen one, it's as if this group had got hold of a practical manual on how to carry out a coup. Edward Luttwak should know who's written one.
Doing coup d'etat is not a butchery. It's not butchery, it's surgery. You have to study carefully, not only the physicality, but the psychology of the body that you want to seize. And then you have to go and look for those critical nodes, and therefore apply whatever strength you have to those particular critical nodes. You can't do that unless you know what these nodes are. And that requires a study, which most coup plotters don't exactly do. But what they do is that through familiarity and being inside, they get an instinct for what it is, what the nodes are.
And it seems even to take control of a country the size of Western Europe, you don't need many followers.
In a situation like the DRC, ex-Belgian Congo, a group that is united by an ideology, okay, already has enormous cohesion compared to the normal member of the population. That gives you cohesion, and that gives you instant capability. Not necessarily to do a coup. To be enormous, vast, and even vaster than it seems because of lack of communication, but certainly enough to knock off a constituted power in a city, in a place. It gives them a real capability.
Paul Joseph Mukungubila and his group may not have read Mr. Lutvak's book, but they knew what to do. They attacked the main airport at the capital, Kinshasa, the armed forces headquarters, and this is them interrupting a broadcast of Le Panier, or the bread basket, in the studios of the national broadcaster, the rather dilapidated building in front of me. The two presenters simply sit there looking bemused as men armed with machetes and sticks walk around. So what's all this got to do with religion? Well, one thing that is different with this coup attempt is that Paul Joseph Mukungubila is a preacher. He's Pastor Paul Joseph Mukungubila. And the followers were not disgruntled army officers or left-wing revolutionaries. They were members of his church. I say were because dozens were killed as the army retook control.
When you take over the broadcaster, in the old days, before social media, before that, then you became the voice of the master, his master's voice. You could, thunder out your messages and people would hear them. Today, of course, taking over the broadcaster does not give you a monopoly of mass communication. It just makes you a player among others. Secondly, taking over army headquarters, that's useful if you yourself already starved or have authority. You need some stuff. You can't have a group of religious preachers walking into an army headquarters and expect the people will obey you, and so on. Even the disintegrated and utterly useless Congolese army, which irregularly runs away in front of any group of insurgents that crosses the border, even they have some, vague sense of membership.
Description